And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren, and welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us on this hot day. Goodness gracious, this has been the hottest summer that I can remember in years. And it's just been scorching every day for 2 months now. And we're not used to this kind of heat here in the mountains. As you can see, we have the Honda ATV and the North Star little pull behind sprayer. It's a 25 gallon, I think, maybe 22, something like that. It's small. It's small because we do small acreage, small scale hay farming. And this thing fits what we do to a T. If you hay 50 acres, 100 acres, 500 acres, you may think this is, this is way, way too little. You never get done. For a small scale hay farm, this works fantastic. Match your size of your equipment to what you're doing. This works great. The weather forecast said 16% chance of rain. And as soon as I got everything out here and get to looking, it's starting to cloud up this way, but the Weather Channel still says chances of rain are way down. So we're gonna spray. What we're spraying today is a couple of things. We're going to spray our west field, which we cut and baled about maybe 2.5 weeks ago, and the late summer weeds are starting to come up in it after that cutting and baling. They're still small and young, and good time to spray them. We got some horse nettle coming up, we got some plantain coming up, and some little small ironweed plants. We're going to knock these broadleaf weeds out of our west field. Don't know what's going to happen with the foxtail in it, because this, what we're spraying today, is not going to affect that foxtail. And hopefully we don't have an infestation in that west field, I'm hoping. But we're going to go ahead and knock out the broadleaf weeds today. And we're using Amine 2,4-D. It's what we're going to spray. And then when we're done spraying, we're going to mix in our sprayer some glyphosate, I think 41%. And we're going to mix it in our sprayer with water, and we're going to spray some fence rows with a spot sprayer. But first we're going to do the hay field with the 2,4-D. Okay, I've got a cup here that I always use that measures cups and ounces. And we measure 2,4-D by the ounce. So we've got our sprayer half full of water already. And we're going to go ahead and pour enough 2,4-D in it to make 22 gallons. Okay, we're done spraying the west field. We're gonna walk out here. Let me show you an example of the weed load. It's amazing how fast that late summer weeds will come on. It's just amazing. Okay, I'm gonna spin the camera around here and show you some of these weeds. There's some plantain. More plantain. More plantain. Plantain in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but I still don't want it in my hay. Horse nettle. Plenty of horse nettle. Horse nettle. There's actually some poison ivy on the ground. More horse nettle. There's no shortage of weeds. Mainly what we were spraying for is that stuff right there. Horse nettle. Horse nettle and plantain is our main weed that's actively growing at the moment. Okay, we will come back in a couple of weeks and see how this is doing. Of course, I'll be checking on it pretty regular, but I'll bring you back and show you the results of the 2,4-D spraying and the weeds it eliminated. We're going to keep a close eye on foxtail, see if it starts coming up. I don't want to get out in here and rake around right now because we just got done spraying. I'll come out here and start looking around to see if I can spot any of that purple leaves on some grasses to know if foxtail's coming up or not. This little sprayer is a fantastic little sprayer for small scale stuff like I'm doing. I have given thought to taking a 55-gallon barrel and building me a little bigger sprayer, because this little 25-gallon one or 22, whatever it is, sometimes it's almost too small. But most of the time it's sufficient for what I do. I've given thought to building me one out of a 55-gallon barrel with a little longer booms to make spraying a little faster. I don't know. That might be a good winter project. You know, there's some people that are totally against using any kind of herbicides. And I understand to a slight extent where they're coming from because of overuse by large corporate farming and things of that nature. But if you use chemical sprays, whether it be 2,4-D or Grazon Next or whatever you use in your crops or your hay fields or whatever, and you're doing it responsibly within the guidelines, you know, that's a choice everybody has to make on their own. And there's some people get just all bent out of shape over even the mention of spraying a hay field or spraying some kind of crops or something. And I had a viewer send me a book basically in a message or a comment. Some people are not going to be happy with spray no matter what you do. And if you put one drop of spray on your hay fields, they're going to jump up and down and say, I wouldn't touch that stuff, you're ruining the environment, blah, 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 blah. But if you're going to make a quality product, some clean hay, having your hay full of horse nettle and buttercup and ironweed and thistle and foxtail, things of that nature, just full. People's not going to want that, and I wouldn't either. they're not going to buy that hay. If they might buy one or two for a test, and if anybody comes to our farm thinking about buying hay from us, if we're taking a new customer, I'll gladly load them a bale of hay in their truck for free to take home, feed to their animals, go through it, see what they think. And that's how confident I am on our hay and how clean it is and how good a hay it is. It's like this foxtail problem we got going on now. I'm not selling that hay. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to cut it. I'm going to try to go around, I think, the areas that are clean, and that's all I'm going to cut, and I'm going to come back later and bush hog it. The rest of it, and then we're going to have to treat it this winter. But you have some folks that they are hysterical over a drop spray, and I'm not that way. I think you got to look at it objectively and with common sense, and use it with common sense to get a good product. How else is anybody going to get rid of all the horse nettle and the ironweed and the bull thistle and all these obnoxious weeds out of a hayfield? You're going to have to resort to tillage, probably burning it off and then tilling it, because just burning it by itself is not going to be enough. There's so much of it, it'll spread by rhizomes, and then what don't spread by rhizomes, that seed bank is still in the soil. And next year, you're going to have your hay full of those weeds. I saw a video, and I don't mean to be critical, but I saw a video not long ago of a farming channel, and a guy was baling some hay. He had a bunch of cattle. He was baling hay. And dare I say, he was not baling hay. He was baling goldenrod and ironweed and thistle. There was very, very little grass, anything nutritious in that hay. I mean, it was a bale of weeds. And if you want to feed that to your own animals, knock yourself out. If your intentions are to sell that hay as good quality hay, and you've got those weeds, and 99.9% of the hay fields are going to have them if you don't do something, you're going to have to do something. And a lot of your organic ways of doing things, some of them's good, some of them are not. An example, we had registered Oberhausley dairy goats, and we had them for several years. We had them for several years prior, then we went into a meat goat venture, then we decided to go back to the dairy goats. So me and my wife Susan, we know dairy goats. We had them a long time. We went and looked at a dairy goat doe, 2 years old in her prime, and two of them. And we drove a pretty long way to go look at these goats with intentions, if they were all healthy and they looked good, these were registered animals. We were probably going to buy them to add to our herd. If they vet checked all and the blood work come back good and all that. Well, when we got there, immediately, and I'm not going to draw this out, it was very obvious those goats were in bad shape because of parasites. They were wormy, like anemic, like to the point I thought it was getting dangerous for those goats. When you go look at someone else's animals, the last thing you want to do is seem really negative and say anything bad. You don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But these goats were in bad shape. And I asked the owner if they had checked these goats for parasites, specifically barber pole worms, because they looked very, very anemic. And I was told yes, but we treat them organically. We give, pine straw and different things they done for deworming, pumpkin seeds, things organically. They did not want to use any kind of chemical. And I looked at these goats, gave them the FAMACHA score with their eyes, and so did Susan, and we looked at their body score. These things were in bad shape. I mean, they were anemic, and they were not far from knocking on heaven's door, in my opinion. And I suggested to the people, out of respect for those animals, that they needed to forget that organic treatments, holistic or whatever you want to call it, and give those goats, get them on a emergency regimen of ivermectin, which ivermectin's a natural occurring substance, but on ivermectin, fenbazidole, valbazin, different wormers, because they were in bad shape. That was not very well taken. Well, no, we'd rather use organic, all natural dewormers and medicines, and we don't want to give our animals chemicals. And I, again, and Susan did too, kind of said, we're not interested at this moment in these goats because they are severely anemic and they need attention ASAP. And I told the lady and man, I said, if these goats recover fully, give me a call and I'll come back and look at them. Well, we did get a call just a couple of days later that both those goats passed away. Unnecessary. Just because someone was so stubborn, they would not use chemicals, a chemical dewormer, to save those goats. They might have been so far gone that a chemical dewormer wouldn't work anyway, but it was worth a shot. And if they would have been using those good, proven deworming medicines from the get-go, those goats would not have been in that situation to start with. We could go the organic route and use no sprays, no nothing. We could spray chicken manure on our fields, cow manure, no fertilizer, no sprays, no nothing. And we would have a field full of weeds. We just would. We could spray with vinegar, and we could use vinegar and some kind of organic soap as a surfactant, you know, and do some things. And I'm telling you, we would have a field full of weeds. I don't want to be pushy about it, because if you do things different, that's fine. That's fine. It's your farm and you do what you think you need to do. Don't let nobody else tell you different. You don't just put animals on a normal deworming schedule. That's a huge no-no. That ought to be common sense. And I still see people doing that. They put these animals on a deworming schedule, and when they're really not even, maybe you might have one that has a small parasite load and then another one that has nothing, but you're worming it too. What you're doing is just making those worms resistant to any medication. They're becoming valbazin resistant, where it no longer works. They're becoming Panacur or fenbazidole or ivermectin resistant, where when they do get really wormy and are getting anemic, those medicines no longer work. Same thing in your hay fields. Use the sprays when you need to, and when you don't use them. And use the minimum amount you can get by with. For me to come out here and start spraying a certain chemical for cockleburr, to rid our fields of any cockleburr that might show up, because we don't have any. There's not been a cockleburr weed in this field in years and years. But I'm going to go ahead and spray a certain chemical that targets cockleburr, just in case I start getting a cockleburr problem. Then any seed that might be in there laying dormant has gotten so build up a resistance to that spray, that chemical, and they'll start growing even with the spraying. Don't spray for cocklebur until you know you got a cocklebur problem. Don't spray for horse nettle till you see you got a horse nettle problem. And then use the minimum amount required. And if that don't do the job, next time, step up a couple ounces per gallon till you get to where it starts controlling it. And then when the problem is under control, stop using it until you see them ever come back. And I don't understand fully the resistance and the outcry about responsibly using sprays on your hayfield. I really don't. And that's my opinion. This is my farm, and we will do on our farm as we see fit and responsibly. And you do on your farm as you see fit responsibly. And if you're not responsible with it, then shame on you. But it's still your property. You pay the property taxes on it. You bought the property, or you leased the property and the owner's allowing you to do that, whatever. I'm not gonna come stand outside your farm gate and shake my finger at you and hold up a cardboard sign that says, "You're killing the environment. Shame on you." You use your chemicals responsibly and use them only when necessary. And I'm telling you, if we didn't use some chemicals on this farm based on the seed bank that was here when we bought this farm, if we didn't do something with the weeds, we would never be able to sell a single bale of hay off this property. That's just fact. We have to do something, and lots of times the organic ways and the natural ways of doing things will not cut it. You got to use the right thing at the right time at the right amounts. I'm off my soapbox. Thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. We got our Westfield sprayed. It's been a busy, busy day on the farm. We got a lot done. We got our fingers crossed about the foxtail in the Westfield. I don't know yet. I'm gonna get out there as soon as that spray's dry, probably tomorrow, or maybe the next day, whenever I can catch a few minutes. I'm gonna ride the ATV out there, and I'm gonna look for that purple grass. Anywhere, I'm just gonna walk around. I'm gonna take my time and walk that field back and forth in a zig and a zag pattern, looking for any purple grass. And I just pray I don't find any. If I do, it is what it is. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. And I pray God blesses you and your family. And I pray y'all have a fantastic day.